motivated you to get involved with MSF, and kind of what kind of work do you do with the organization?
Sure, so just to start, I will introduce myself. It's Brad Assenheimer. I'm the Deputy Executive Director for Doctors Without Borders Canada. What interested me, or how I got involved first in MSF, it's an interesting story, because I'm from small town Alberta, and in small town Alberta there's not a lot of humanitarian workers, so I kind of thought I would want to be something to do with humanitarian and do that type of work, but there's no real examples to follow. And I think the real turning point for me was meeting my wife. And she had done a bunch of work internationally, and she had worked with refugee sponsorship programs and some international development stuff. And she's also really good at making you think, like, oh, what do you want to do with your life, and all that kind of stuff. And I had to really reflect on that. And then, quickly after we met, she accepted a 2-year contract in Peru doing water development work. And I knew if I was going to keep dating her, I would have to step up my game a little bit, actually. And that led me to follow her to Peru, and I spent some time there. And I remember it was in 2005, and I was visiting her in Peru, and there was a major earthquake in Pakistan. So 75,000 people were killed, and mudslides were isolating a whole bunch of other people in the mountains in Pakistan. And I remember seeing on the news, on TV, these MSFers, these MSF workers with their t-shirts on and the backpacks, first aid kits on their back, and they're walking into the mountains in Bangladesh, or in Pakistan. And I thought to myself, that was when it really clicked, like I could do that, I could totally do that. And that started off this desire to kind of go abroad and work with Doctors Without Borders, and I guess it brings me in front of you today. What did I do? It's interesting, because it's, most people don't realize that you don't have to actually be a doctor to work with Doctors Without Borders. I mean, I'm a chemical engineer, not a doctor. And I think it's surprising to learn that about 50% of the people that work for Doctors Without Borders are non-medical. So what does that mean? I mean, for me, I started off being a logistician. So the logistician does all the things that the medics don't do, because they're busy with the patients, and I'm not so good with patients. So I got to look after the cars and the generators and the building construction, medical supply, some of the financial logistics stuff. And in total, I did 3 field assignments over a couple of years doing that. And then I took a step up, and I did 3 more projects, and this was as a project coordinator. Again, non-medical, but now you're responsible for managing the doctors and the nurses, and a bunch of other stuff. You're the local representative for MSF in the place where you're working, so you're negotiating and meeting authorities. Responsible for security management, was also doing hiring and firing, financials, budgets, and then really responsible for the programming, what we're doing, where we're doing, why we're doing it. And in total, I was 4 years abroad. I kind of left engineering behind me and took a break and decided I would do MSF for a year. That was what I figured. And that was in 2008, and it ended up being 4 years straight in the field. And I was in Bangladesh, the Philippines, it was 3 times in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and also in Chad. And I still really haven't looked back.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. It's really inspiring, the work you do. And the second question we have is, the world is facing what's been called the most widespread humanitarian crisis since the Second World War. Can you tell us more about this?
Sure. So when we talk about the most widespread humanitarian crisis since the Second World War, we're really referring to the over 65 million refugees that have been displaced from their homes in the last years. And refugee movements and people on the move is not new, but it's the scale of it that's new and unprecedented. So when you're asking yourself why is this happening? I mean, there's new conflicts. There's also old conflicts that have been going on a long time, and this is places like Syria, Yemen, Iraq, Somalia, Libya, places that make the news sometimes and some places that don't. And I think these conflicts have been going on for a long time, and they really are leading to an amazing amount of people on the move. To give you an example, in Syria, middle of 2016, 1 in 2 Syrians had left their home and left their country, were on the move. So that's people that had to flee, and you're fleeing your loved ones, your home, your family, fleeing for your life often. And people don't take this decision lightly. This is not something you're just deciding to do one day because you're looking for a better life. It's because you've done some sort of analysis where you look at the risks you're facing where you are, and you're measuring that. It's violent, there's war, you're being persecuted, and you're deciding that it's better if you take this crazy journey and try your luck on the road, even though you know that you're going to face more risk there. And then on top of that, you have, as these places get more violent and becomes more dangerous, it's harder for organizations like Doctors Without Borders to access these populations, to actually go there and provide the care where people need it the most. So people are leaving because they're seeking that safety and the assistance that they need. And then on top of it, more recently, you have a famine or malnutrition crisis across the Sahel region of Africa, lots in South Sudan and in other countries. And this has caused a recent surge in displacement of people that are now on the move because of this. And there's an incredibly vulnerable population. So those are some reasons for why I think it's happening.
Yeah, so in such a confusing situation like that, how does Doctors Without Borders come into play? And how do they help out in that situation?
Sure. Well, we're in 60 countries, over 60 countries worldwide. But we're also, in about a third of those countries, we have projects that are dealing with people that are on the move, with refugees or internally displaced people who have fled conflict. And that's the heart of what we do. Some of it is working in conflict zones itself, like in northern Syria where we're working right now. And that's working with the civilian populations that are caught there, but also war wounded and all the kind of fancy stuff that you would imagine in kind of the movies and that kind of thing. But really where the bulk of our work happens in response to conflict is people have left. Like in Syria, people are on the move, they're leaving the area. And we're doing a lot more work in the surrounding areas. And this is less sexy stuff. This is basic primary health care. It's vaccinations, it's maternal programs. And then we have the odd program that is doing more specialized care, maybe for people that have severe burns or orthopedic programs and that kind of stuff. And I think my last project in the field it was in 2013, and it was in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and that was dealing specifically with a 5,000 person IDP camp. And we're doing just that, basic primary health care, to vaccinate all the children for measles. We solved an ongoing water supply problem where you had one water spout for 5,000 people, and we were able to get 20 by the time we were done. And we lobbied and were successful for the World Food Program to come restart the food distributions. And then we managed to isolate cholera in a nearby town so we didn't have it spread into the camp, which would have been deadly. And this is for me where I really realized how precarious the situation is. Because these people are, like, in that particular instance, they displaced a number of times in the last 3 years. They were on the move. Most of them would be 3 or maybe 4 times they left their homes. And they didn't know when they were going to go home. They didn't know how long they were going to be there. They didn't know if they were safe in the camp. And then even if they do get to go home, now they don't know, do I plant my fields? Or am I just going to have to leave again? Should I bother rebuilding? Or maybe I'll just build a house out of straw. Like, why bother? Because I'm just going to leave again. And that is an incredibly tough situation for people to be living in.
Here in Toronto, we don't hear that much about this issue. Why do you think young people, specifically here, should care about this?
Well, I think everything is very connected, and that's something that's becoming more and more connected, especially when you have social media and everything where you can see things that happen here at home. But also with the Syrian refugee and the attention that's been on the media lately, it's not so far from home. So you realize that it's actually closer than you can imagine. And we're all refugees. I mean, we're migrants of some sort at some point, except for Mr. in the front here that spoke so kindly at the start. I mean, we're on his land, not ours. So I think we have to really remember that when we're thinking about why we care. And in my new job as deputy director, I got to travel to Mexico in January to visit some of the projects we have for people who are leaving Central America and looking for safe passage or asylum in Mexico. And I think I want to tell a story about one of the first people that I met when I was there, because I think for me it really had an impact. It's one of the reasons why I care, and I think maybe it'll help understand. So his name was Jose, and I met him in Mexico City, and he was a water engineer, just like I am, actually. And he had fled El Salvador because one day he was kidnapped. It was quite common in El Salvador right now, and he was kidnapped, and he was held for ransom, and he couldn't pay, and then somehow, luckily for him, the car that they were transporting him broke down, and he was able to escape. So he got away from that crowd. So he left El Salvador, and he showed up in Mexico because he wasn't safe to stay in his home country anymore. And he was in Mexico for a couple of months. He was applying for asylum, and I think it was going quite well, but this takes some time. And while he was applying for asylum, he was kidnapped a second time. This time it was by a Mexican gang that thought he was part of another Mexican gang. So made him take all his clothes off, and they look for tattoos. In Mexico, this is very common. If you're part of one gang, you'll have a tattoo for that gang. Of course, he's from El Salvador, so he didn't have the tattoo, so they beat him up, they robbed him, and they took his picture and said, if we see you again, we'll kill you. And they're pretty serious, so he had to leave again. So he went from the southern border in Mexico and he moved to Mexico City, hoping maybe he'd be able to blend in there. And he was there for another 2 months and he was kidnapped a third time. And this is just unbelievable. So he's kidnapped a third time, this time it was 3 other people. So the 4 of them, and someone looking for Colombians, probably linked to drug or something, I don't know, didn't know the details. One of them was Colombian and they killed him right there, just shot him. The other 3 were from El Salvador, so for them, well, okay. They hit Jose in the head and threw him out of a moving vehicle. They broke both hands of the second guy, and they ran over the third guy. The third guy was still in hospital when I met Jose the next day. And this is where I care, because it could have been me. I mean, I'm a water engineer. I just happened to be born in Canada, where it's much safer for me. And the reality for Jose is he's no idea what he's going to do next. And of course, MSF is there, but this is where you really realize the value of this act, like this act of humanitarian. The humanitarian action really is. Because of course we could help him with his medical needs. And we can even work with him on mental health programming. So what we're doing in there, where we can work with him to see if we can help him work through some of the issues he's certainly facing. We can't solve his problem. I mean, there's no good solution there. But at least we were there, we heard his story, we listened, we care. And now I'm here telling you about it, because I think somehow, some way, if we tell these stories, we're able to make some sort of difference.
Kind of expanding on that storytelling and talking about these issues, how can we also play a part in this, and how can we help with what you guys are doing?
Well, I mean, first you are helping. Events like this is exactly what is a great thing to do, so I think you should all take a moment to reflect on that. And I do want to thank everyone for coming. That's definitely, and this is helping, and this is really great. But it's more than just raising money. It's also taking the time to think about it. You can clearly see that people here have come out today to learn more about it and to invest in, but also to take that effort to face these issues head on. For everyone in the audience, I mean, there's other things you can do. You can welcome a refugee. Right? You can fight against that misconception or the xenophobia that we hear about so much. Because really, people are they have the right to flee, and they're looking for a safer place to live. And we know that welcoming them here is a way to help with that. And getting involved is also a really good thing, and it doesn't really matter in what way or what you're actually going to do, but just do something. Do something that will make a difference, and whether it's big or small, it doesn't matter, but just somehow get involved. And then it's really important to learn about stuff, to think about these kind of things. Like find out understand the context where these people are coming from and they're being forced to flee from. You want to talk about those difficult issues with your friends and your family, and really challenge the misconceptions that are out there. And just really reflect on that, because that's really what humanitarian is. It's not, sure we treat patients and injuries, but it's more than that. It's about this bearing witness, or really being a witness to the suffering that these people are facing, and taking that opportunity to share their stories and bring it to the broader global conscience. And I mean, I think everyone here can play the role in that as well.
Awesome. Thank you. You said it all. That was wonderful. Thank you so much for coming and speaking with us today.
I really appreciate it.